All right, so this is just going to be a video answering this question about this table right here. So it says complete the following table. The variable a is a constant, so this a right here is a constant, and the value for a is given right here. So it's 1, then 10, and so on. So it's every single one of these values right here is going to represent our a, so it's constant. And this is find each limit numerically. Okay, so first thing we're going to do here is this is the limit of a over x as x approaches infinity. So you have a, so it's 1. So this a is going to be 1 for this first cell right here, and it's going to be divided by x. X is approaching infinity. Now, if you think about this numerically, if you were trying to do this out, if you had like 1 divided by 10, that ends up being point. If you end up doing 1 over 100, because again, this x is going to infinity here, so this x is going to infinity, so it's getting bigger, so I'm just showing the trend. This is going to be 0.01. So now if you do 1 over 1,000, you probably get the drift here that our value is getting closer and closer to 0. If you notice, it's 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. It's getting closer and closer to 0. So this limit, as you just do 1 divided by infinity, that's what we basically did right here, is going to be 0. Now imagine if we replaced all these 1s right here with a 10, because the next value for a is 10. So this is going to be 10, this is going to be 10, this is going to be 10. Okay, well that's going to change our values here a little bit. All right, so 10 divided by 10, that's just going to be 1. Okay, 10 divided by 100, so that would just cancel out here. These zeros would cancel out, so you have 1 over 10, which is just 0.1, and 10 over 1,000 would just be 1 over 100, which is 0.01. So you can kind of see the trend again. We're approaching 0. Okay, this value that you're dividing by, this x right here, is going to infinity, so it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't actually matter that it's 10, because it's going to be getting smaller and smaller. And basically that's the trend that I want you to kind of see here, that if you put 100 divided by infinity, it's still going to be 0. If it's 1,000 divided by infinity, still 0. 10,000 divided by infinity, it doesn't matter how big a gets, unless a gets to infinity. That's a whole other story. But if you have some constant a, anytime you have a constant divided by infinity, you are going to get 0. So that's kind of important to write down here. So I'm going to write it over here. So if you have a constant, so some constant value that's not changing, and you divide it by infinity, it is always going to be approaching 0. Okay, really important to understand that. Let's try this next one here. We have 1, which is a constant, divided by x minus a, and x is going to infinity. This a is still a constant, as it says right here. So a is still a constant, okay, and it's based on these values here. So this first one would be 1 divided by x minus, and then 1. So it's 1 divided by x minus 1, and x is going to infinity. So really you have 1 divided by infinity minus 1. Okay, you can't do direct substitution by just putting infinity in here, but it kind of helps with your understanding. 1 divided by infinity minus 1. Well, infinity minus 1 is still infinity, so you have 1 divided by infinity. And if you remember before, we talked about whenever you have a constant divided by infinity, you end up with 0. So 1 divided by infinity is going to be 0 because it's a constant divided by infinity. All right, let's do the next one. You have 1 divided by infinity minus 10. Okay, well, that's still 1 divided by infinity because infinity minus 10 is still infinity, so that's going to be 0. In fact, all of these end up being 0 because it ends up being a constant divided by infinity. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, we have 1 divided by x plus a. So this was x minus a. Maybe there's going to be a difference when it's plus a. So it's 1 divided by infinity plus a. For this first cell, a is 1. So you have 1 divided by infinity plus 1. Well, infinity plus 1 on this bottom here is still going to be infinity. So you have 1 divided by infinity. Again, constant divided by infinity is 0. So 1 divided by infinity plus 10, that's still 1 over infinity. That's 0. 0, 0, and 0 for each of these, because anytime you just do 1 divided by infinity plus 1,000, infinity plus 1,000 is infinity, 1 over infinity is 0. So that's basically how to complete that table right there. And it says for a, what trend, if any, do you notice as a gets larger and larger for each limit? And the trend is, there is no trend. If it's constant, it does not matter how big this constant is. The constant's getting bigger and bigger. It doesn't matter how big that constant is. It's not going to infinity. So anytime you divide by infinity, you end up with 0. Okay? And then it says what rules can be made regarding each limit? Well, this is basically the rule, as we talked about many times already here. The constant divided by infinity is equal to 0. So basically answers part B. So if you have any questions about anything in this video, let me know.